talk to you on one of these lives. I was driving from Chicago back to St. Louis, and now I'm on my way to Wichita, Kansas. So holy heck, it's just like I'm doing lots of driving, so I'm going to do some lives here. So the title of this live is basically Americans Love Communism, right? i.e. cheap products. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is what I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, which is essentially that American businesses pretty much only operate in communist countries. And, you know, we're born and raised to think that, you know, America is the great liberator of, you know, oppression, of communism, socialism, all these kind of things. We're literally the antithesis of all these things. But communism is super convenient when you need cheap labor, right? It's awesome when you need to pay people $1.50 an hour and dump chemicals in the river and not be able to be sued when your workplace sucks. You don't have to, you know, pay out large compensation packages when your employees die on the job, so on and so forth. And right now there's this kinetic effort, whatever you want to call it, in Venezuela, where we're basically taking a dictator over there and we're deposing him, right? We're deposing this person and saying, you know, you don't get to be leader anymore. We're gonna bring you back to the United States. We're basically gonna try you for crimes, right? And all these crimes are interesting. There was some Soviet guy who basically said, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. This is probably another version of that. We probably want to get cheap oil out of there. We probably want to get, you know, some form of manufacturing out of there. I hope you guys see what's going on. Public pushback, right? There's the least amount of rights for the individuals. It's pretty much all just ruled by the Communist Party. So the business essentially only has to deal with one or two people to get what it is that they want out of these countries, which is cheap labor, okay? Now, I just put out a video talking about basically how everyone was given college as a consolation prize for having your father's and your grandfather's jobs shipped overseas so that corporations can get super cheap labor in these third world countries, right? And had they not made everyone, or not made, but had they not given everyone essentially the opportunity to go to college, they wouldn't have been able to outsource all this work for the last 30 years. So fast forward to today, when you're giving out millions of degrees every single year for the last 20 years, it led to a situation where all the jobs that would have paid you a decent amount of money are gone, right? And all you're left with are these bullshit college jobs. Well, here's the rub, guys. The only way that a business can afford to hire a ton of people that do marketing, a ton of HR people, a ton of people that do data analysis, a ton of people that do engineering, and a ton of people that do sales and marketing is by getting rid of all the people that actually do the work, right? Then you're able to train all these people to do all these what are essentially bullshit jobs, because the amount of money that you're saving by not having to pay people to do real work in America anymore allows you to pay for all that kind of stuff, you know? And again, this is only possible in communist countries, right? It's not like, take a company like Nike or Restoration Hardware. They could never do this if they outsource their jobs to a country like France. You know, that would never work because they have a real minimum wage there. They have real labor laws, real transportation laws, real tort laws. It just would never work. So they pick these communist or socialist countries like Vietnam, like China, like Bangladesh, Indonesia, places like that where there's just no rules and they're able to operate with impunity, right? And then again, they bring all that money back here. They give these college graduates these jobs, and the jobs are bullshit jobs, guys. They don't really pay anything, right? And we're seeing that not only is the value of a degree worth almost nothing anymore, we're seeing that the technology, things like AI, right, are reducing the amount of jobs that are even available, or they're even going to be done by people with college degrees or knowledge workers, you know? So it's really twisted how much, again, that as a country, we just love to talk about how patriotic we are, how much we love capitalism, and we love democracy rules, and we don't do any of it, guys. Like, again, as an American with an American business that hires American workers, pays American taxes, follows our code of federal regulations, follows all of our transportation rules, all of our tax laws, our tax nexuses. We deal with all that stuff. These corporations don't do any of that. So it's really wild, you know. So I just put up a video this morning talking about how these corporations essentially skirt all of our laws, every single one of them. And the only way that they were able to skirt all of our laws was basically to bribe people with college. So while they were sending all the work to the third world, the federal government was saying, well, hey, let's just send everyone to college. So they send everyone to college, right, for 20 years essentially. And now that everyone's done going to college, most of the degrees are worthless. Everyone's in debt. People are saying, hey, we need real work. We got to make some real money here. The work is over in the third world in communist countries, you know, and so it's a major problem, guys. And the only way to get workers back in here that can work cheap enough is essentially to bring in the third world, and that's kind of what they got going on. So it's a real twisted system, guys. I hope everyone kind of understands what's happened, because it's not good. So we got comments, we got people coming in, guys. I appreciate you being here. My name's Eric Wilk, and I own the Resplendent Crow in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small boutique furniture company. We're known for our high gloss lacquer coating. We do about 500 pieces a year. We're a small 7-figure business, and all I do on this channel is talk business. I talk about the business of manufacturing. I talk about, you know, the tax structure. I talk about starting small business. I talk about hiring, firing, all these kind of things. And anyone can ask me any question. I'm generally pretty open about everything, but that's what we talk about here. So let's see. Muslims can go to hell. I don't know if Muslims are necessarily bad. I don't know that anybody's bad. I think it's more of a class situation in America. You know, there's nothing wrong with Muslims, but you got to be productive, right? There's nothing wrong with, you know, Jews, but you got to be productive. There's nothing wrong with whites, but you got to be productive. There's nothing wrong with blacks, Mexicans, whatever, but you got to be productive. I think that's the biggest problem, and I think we're learning that a lot of these groups that come in here aren't as productive as we were told they are, but it's also our own people, you know, whites, blacks. We all got to do better, to be quite honest with you. There's a lot of us that just aren't very productive, and it's expensive to pay to prop people up with Section 8 and food stamps and daycare vouchers. Daycare is a big thing everyone's talking about now. All this shit costs money, guys, and unfortunately, it's the people that are actually trying to make things work here in America that end up paying all that stuff. Large corporations, we're always told, you know, the large corporations are paying their fair share. They pay tons of taxes. They pay 50% of the tax burden, blah, 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 blah. You know, there's a lot of truth to that, but at the same time, these companies are carving out special interest loopholes for themselves. Most of their labor is done overseas, right? It's the people, the small businesses here in America that really struggle with making it in America with the rules as they are written. Very difficult, you know, because the tax system isn't written for the small business owner with whatever 5 to 20 employees. It's written for the corporation with 1,000 employees, right? Who has an army of CPAs, an army of lawyers that can navigate the tax code, which is something like, I forget what it is, like 55,000 pages of tax code or something. It's just something absolutely insane, you know? So yeah, I don't know if it's Muslims or any one group. It's just about being productive. So, okay, got more people in here. Hi, hello, good to see all of you. Again, just on the road driving to Wichita, Kansas today. Okay, let's see. He needs some milk. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but there's that Mr. Redman, whatever. Yeah, so anyway, things that we got going on. The small business owner just does not have a chance in America when you basically incentivize businesses to do their manufacturing overseas. When this happens, it reduces competition, right? I think at this point, we would all kind of know here in America that there's been a mass consolidation. A mass consolidation of all these industries, whether it's furniture, electronics, automotive, technological. It doesn't really matter what the industry is. There's just massive amounts of consolidation, and it freaking blows, right? If we would, you know, make it much more difficult to outsource the work here in America, it would not only allow more people to have jobs in America, but it would allow more businesses to have jobs in America. One of the reasons that prices and costs and things like that are allowed to accelerate the way that they are is because there's a lack of competition. right? I tell the story often of working for Gulfstream, which is a large corporation, and we would have to go to these stupid, you know, DEI trainings, you know, implicit bias training, sexual harassment training, all of this, what is essentially, you know, sociological related stuff. Nothing to do with our job, just social bullshit. And if there was more competition, people could say, you know what, I'm not going to do this bullshit. You're not going to call me racist. You're not going to call me sexist. I'll go work for your competition. But when you have massive consolidation, it's very difficult, you know. So that's one of the benefits of having a ton of small businesses. And if we could, again, talk to our Congress people, talk to our Chamber of Commerce, all of these people, and get them to bring tariffs back to America, to inhibit the amount of cheap shit coming into our country, and to mitigate the amount of jobs leaving this country for the third world, it would go a long way in creating not only small businesses, but generational small businesses. You know, businesses that you start that you can then pass down to your kids, that your kids can then pass down to their kids, so on and so forth. But without that, man, like we're all in deep trouble, guys. I mean, it's basically going to be the way to make it, if we keep going the way that we're going, is essentially going to be to find a third world business that you can essentially white label a product with, or hook up with a third world manufacturer who makes whatever your particular, you know, product is, and hook up with those guys and have them make it for you, bring it back here to America, and then sell it for whatever 5 to 20 times what you paid for it. And if that's the way we run businesses, then I mean, everyone's hosed, guys. It's not sustainable. And again, with the whole college thing coming to an end, like colleges are going to slowly go out of business. There's not enough people that want to go to college now because the ROI on going to college is complete garbage. I mean, you basically got to get a master's degree, a PhD, or some kind of a doctorate to have any chance of paying back the cost of the degree that you got. It's just very difficult to pay that stuff back. I mean, you've got people spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on the average degree to go out and get a job that might pay 50 grand a year, you know, when the truth is that had you just went to work for a machine shop right out of high school at 18 years old, by the time you were 22, you'd probably be making 70, 80 grand a year with no degree, no debt, and you'd have an employer-employee relationship for a job that you could probably stay at for a good chunk of your life, you know. So this idea is slowly coming back around, but the idea of just outsourcing everything, guys, it's got to stop. And I don't know how we do that necessarily, but there's some cool ideas out there. I just put a video out talking to Grok about some of the things that are in Congress right now, some of the things that we can do as small business owners, as people that want to be small business owners, to help kind of push this idea of making things in America, or at least just making more small businesses in America. So, all right, next comment. We used to bust monopoly. Hold on, we used to. Yeah, you're right. It was called trust busting. It was done by Theodore Roosevelt, and it's you could do a Grok search or an internet search on exactly what was going on then. But yeah, you had a lot of companies, most notably Standard Oil, use their monopolistic tactics to jack up the price of fuel, but more importantly, they use their monopolistic tactics to buy up all of their competition, right? And this is what happens today under the radar in all industries, guys. The idea of buying up businesses is just normal business. If you're a tech company, if you're a furniture company, if you're a textiles company, if you're some company that creates new parts for the automotive industry, they get bought up almost immediately, and then those products are basically rolled into existing businesses, or they don't come out, right? Because one of the things that monopolies do, which is a massive problem, is they slow roll technical innovation, right? They don't want wild products coming out, products that revolutionize industries, because it potentially jeopardizes the cash cow that they have by rolling out, you know, bitch ass updates every year, or little tiny incremental updates to their products. They never want to have generational jumps, because again, it can jeopardize the cash cow that is the current business model, you know. So again, when we allow these, that's a freaking fantastic point, by the way. When we allow these monopolistic practices to continue for decades, like they have been, it just it just makes it so hard for, again, small businesses and people that want to do their own thing, create their own products, you know, have businesses for their families. It just makes it damn near impossible, guys. And again, I don't have all the answers, but I know there's some plans moving through Congress right now to help kind of slow down the push for third world manufacturing. But the problem with a lot of these bills that are going through Congress right now is that they don't understand just the scale of cheap shit coming in from the third world and how cheap it is when you compare it to making it in America. You know, and the examples that I use, if you go back and listen to any of my grok analysis videos, are because I'm in the furniture space, I know the furniture industry quite well, and here's how it breaks down. So if you want to manufacture a say a dresser in Vietnam, the wage for the average manufacturing woodworker over there is about $800 a month US, okay? And you got to remember, there's almost no regulations over there. There's almost no labor regulations. There's almost no transportation, tort, environmental, all these kind of things, which is massive, okay? Now, that same worker in China makes about $1,200 a month. But again, limited environmental, limited occupational safety and health, limited transportation, limited, right? And again, all these countries are communist countries, guys. Like, they're literally fucking communist countries, and we can't stop dealing with them, okay? Now, take that same worker in America. That same worker in America is going to make somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 a month, okay? That's why these businesses are just eating the lunch of everybody in America, unless you operate in an extremely high niche like I do. It's the only reason I have a business is because my niche is so deep and so difficult to do that it's very hard to produce my product in the third world and safely ship it back to America without there being damage, okay? Plus, the people in my space, they don't want some goofball showing up at their house to deliver a piece of furniture. You got to be very careful about how you ship things. They want white glove delivery most of the time, and they want to, it's much more comfortable when you know who's delivering your furniture, as opposed to a lot of these other bigger companies that just deliver the goofiest stuff, you know. So there's that. But yeah, it's going to be very tricky, guys. Again, with the amount of communist countries that we're dealing with, you know, right now we're like I said, we're basically deposing what is essentially a dictator in this country of Venezuela. Like, nobody voted for this shit. Like, we got so many problems here in America. This isn't something that we need to deal with. You know, it's not on like the top whatever 100 list of things we need to deal with yet. This is what we're dealing with, you know, and it's very frustrating. I think there's this idea that we're going to be greeted as a liberator, right? Greeted as liberators, which again, remember, if you guys remember in Iraq, we did the same thing. We said they were going to greet us as liberators, and look at what happened there. You had a 20-year fucking debacle and trillions of dollars wasted on garbage, you know, there were a lot of American lives were lost, and it just ended up being a complete, you know, shit show. But that might be what we got going on right now. Why is our government going into Venezuela? What, for drugs? I mean, I don't know if you guys remember this stuff, but the drug talk was all about China and Mexico when the president was running, before he was elected. Everyone was talking about China, you know, basically making all the fentanyl products, sending them to Mexico. The drug cartels were running all that shit up into the States, and nobody was talking about Venezuela at all. It wasn't even on the radar, and yet now, here we go. You know, so what is this like? Are we trying to do a false flag thing here? Is this basically to steer the attention away from something like the Epstein files or the massive fraud going on in our country? I mean, is this idea of people not paying taxes anymore until we figure this shit out? Like, are they trying to, you know, draw attention from that? Like, I don't know what's going on, but this idea of sending our military over to a sovereign country that didn't attack us, that didn't really do anything to us, I mean, this seems like kind of crazy. You know, I might be the only one, but again, I just find it real odd that we're going over to a place like this for what, you know? And again, maybe it's because Venezuela has the largest known oil reserves in the world, but I don't know. You know, like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like it's weird what's going on there, but I know one thing: America loves communism. You know, they love to talk about our Constitution. They love to talk about the Declaration of Independence. They love to talk about American-made, America this, America that, our fucking amazing military, blah 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 blah. But all of their stuff is made in communist countries. You know, so I don't know what to make of that, guys. Like, it's just really freaking wild. Really freaking wild. So, hold on, let's go through what else we got in here. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so it's kind of interesting times. I don't know what to make of it, but anyway, I think it's probably all I'm gonna talk about today. I just want to jump on here and just talk about what a freaking, I just think it's bullshit, guys. I really do. I think that what these guys are doing right now in Venezuela is just uncalled for. You know, is it necessarily bad? I don't think so, but it's none of our fucking business. We got bigger fish to fry here. Our country is printing over $2 trillion a year. We manufacture everything in the third world. When our country, or excuse me, when our federal government signs contracts with American businesses, those American businesses are having all their shit made in the third world and selling it to us as though it's made in America, which is complete horseshit. There's no emphasis on making sure that the products are actually made in America. We've got tons of large multinational businesses here in America. Some of the biggest names we know, like Apple and Nike, Restoration Hardware, General Electric. These companies, these are not American businesses, right? They were founded in America and they started making things in America, but they sold out to the third world in all of these communist countries, and it's absolutely disgusting. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'm sure I'll yak to y'all later, but I just thought to kill some time on this drive out to Wichita, Kansas. So have a good one, guys.